Before calling the meeting to order, I want to say it. For special meetings, public comment takes place only for items on the agenda. If you wish to speak on any agenda item, you must submit a speaker card. The cards are located at the table immediately outside our boardroom. Speaker cards must be submitted prior to the close of the public comment portion of the agenda item for which you'd like to speak. Okay. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Cindy Johansson.
Here.
Nancy McCarthy. Curtis Robinson. Here. Lee Del Pan.
Present.
Patty Garbarino.
Here, and I'm really liking beard.
Marilyn Hinzer.
Yes, Mayor.
Jill, I could try
You're
that. Jill Sullivan.
Here, and without a beard, it's funny. And I'm cookies.
Okay, thank you. So motion to approve and adopt the agenda.
So
In favor? Okay, agenda is adopted. Okay, and now we'll get into the Marin County Board of Education bylaws, and I'm going to call on John Lenz to run us through this one.
And I'm just gonna move over to the podium so I can control the slides. And today, from 2:30 to 3:30, we have set aside this time to just finish up regarding our special meeting that we began on November 18th at Walker Creek Ranch. We got through a lot of the bylaws, so thank you for your diligent work on that. And we only have 4 remaining areas. And those areas are in bylaw 9250, where we're talking about attendance at board meetings and what that means. And we'll be talking about compensation for board members. And then 9220, we're going to talk about candidate statements related to elections for the Marin County Board of Education members. And then lastly, and this is new, where we did not have this as the last bylaw discussion, and that is bylaw 9400, board self-evaluation. It's pretty self-explanatory. Member Sartori brought this to my attention between November 18th and today, and we crafted some language that we want to present to you for consideration today. All right, so you ready to begin? Okay, we're going to start on page 126 in your packet. It's a little bit hard to see, and I apologize for that. I think digitally it's lovely. So if you want to pull it up on your computer, that's great. And we have it up here. Hello, Member McCarthy. And we are in the first bylaw, 9250 on page 126. And we are talking about here procedures for determining non-attendance at board meetings. That is the second paragraph there in the page. And I'm just going to give everyone a second just to read it. And the language there is, and remember the green highlights from the legend that indicates that it's either a choice with CSBA or something that the ad hoc committee wanted to expand upon from CSBA language. And in this paragraph, it is an expansion. Our current bylaws are silent on what it means to attend a meeting. And so we wanted ad hoc committee wanted greater clarity around that. So related to compensation, which we're going to talk about in a second. What would meet that criteria for attendance? So are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the language there?
John?
Yes.
I need a minute to get it up on the screen because I can't read it.
Okay.
It's dark, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it now.
We have IS here that can definitely support you.
That would be great.
Great. And it's just attached to the agenda as well. If you, that's probably the easiest way to find it. Sergio.
Page 133.
I know the page number.
Well, it's 126 and
Oh.
closer than 133.
Oh, okay, I see where it is. Okay. There's my password. There it is. Thank you. Okay, as soon as it opens up, sorry. Come on, open up.
I'd like to make a comment on all the violations.
Okay, can you hold just for 1 second, Member McCarthy? Let's have the president make sure she can pull that up and then we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's not. Did you get it to go? Thank you. Okay, I'm good. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, and then Member McCarthy, is your comment just in general or is it about this particular bylaw?
It's in general about the bylaws
Okay,
and the changes that are being made now.
okay. And President, do you want to take that comment now?
Sure.
Okay, floor is yours.
Thank you. I don't believe that any of the bylaws should be changed at this time. And I do believe that we should go back and hold off on any of the discussions that were had or any decisions that were made on November 18th, because it wasn't televised. That should have been happening when we had the opportunity to just walk next door and do that. It should have been done at a time when we were here and the public could have participated, but that didn't happen. And I believe that these bylaws were clearly written by an attorney, not by you, John. And that the way in which they were constructed were to basically downgrade whatever authority this board has over the superintendent and to limit the public opportunity for the members of the public to hear about particularly what the superintendent is doing, has done. We sit here and we know nothing about so many of the things that he was involved in, and they just are all happening around us. I think it's important that we stop this process now, think about it, don't vote on it, and get an evaluation of what the authority is of this board with respect to dealing with the superintendent. I think we need to go back to the vote and the decision that was made when this board was separated from the Board of Supervisors. It has been my experience in my investigation to date, which is not perfect, but it's done through the internet, that this board has basically abdicated 100% of its responsibility to the superintendent. And I don't believe that that was the intention. And I don't believe that the bylaws that are the sort of old pathetic looking PDF bylaws that we're dealing with here was intended for the board to give up this authority. And I think that for John Carroll to have refused to speak to the issues of his report, as minimal as that is, and that the attorney's decision to complain that that would be a Brown Act violation, there was no vote that could have been taken on that matter, on any of the matters that were discussed, was wrong. And I think we need somebody other than an employee whose salary is set by John Carroll to go back into the origins of the vote and to set out for this board exactly what they can and they cannot do. And we need to go about looking at other boards of education and see what their authority is, because otherwise we're sitting here and we're being cut out of any of the decisions that are being made by John Carroll. And it's all being made in the name of MCOE. And people think that we're doing it. When we can say, and I can be refused the ability to put on the agenda the issue of Oak Hill, when we're the ones that are going to have to pay for it. If it isn't, the risk doesn't pay off, then how could that not be in our purview? There are so many things that just do not make sense to me about how this is happening. And when I ask for a further explanation, I'm shut down with the Brown Act, right? It is wrong.
Thank you, Nancy.
So I'm going to take the position that I believe that this board should not consider changes to the bylaws at this time until they have a better understanding of exactly what authority we have and we don't have, because we're giving it up by doing the things that are being asked for in these bylaws.
Thank you, Member McCarthy. Your position is noted. I can open that up to any board member for comment, but I do want to comment, Member McCarthy, on your comment about the bylaws being written by myself. They were definitely not written by myself. It was a collaborative effort with the ad hoc committee, council was involved, and myself, and then as appropriate, other members from the MCBE team. And I would say most importantly, this body too, because remember when we came together on the 18th, we had opportunity for feedback and a discussion, and Member Sartori actually presented, and you'll see that later today, a bylaw that she crafted herself as well. So there is opportunity for input here.
I respectfully disagree.
Noted.
And in addition, a lot of the language in this bylaw were accepted from the education code.
Some of it, yes, yeah, there's a variety of sources. So did anyone want to comment on, yes?
So this board gets its power from the education code. So any questions about the authority of the board, what we can and can't do is found in the education code. So I don't necessarily agree with I agree with your comment that as opposed to district boards, we have a lot less power, but you can find a clear outline of our powers in the education code. So I don't, and if there's a bylaw that you want to propose, then you should do it. I don't, there's no reason not to. I proposed a bylaw on board self-evaluation. So nothing is, just because we approve these bylaws today, doesn't mean that they're set in stone, right? I view this as a living document. It can be amended, it can be added, deleted. So I wouldn't be concerned about approving them and then saying this is, what it says forever.
Thank you. Are there any other responses? Okay, John, let's move forward and.
Okay. Was there any, and where we left it, we let everyone digest the language there about attendance at the meeting, that second paragraph. Was there any questions, comments, or concerns about that? How it works?
Could you clarify, so to participate remotely, you have to have a very specific reason. You can't just say, oh, I think I want to participate remotely.
Are we still talking about bylaw 9250?
We are, I think she's
Yeah,
looking at the paragraph there consistent with the, I believe, teleconference or video call consistent.
Okay. Okay, this one has to do more with attendance time, okay. So I would like just to encourage everybody to get here on time, but that's, we are gonna try to start our meetings on time. And is there anything else about that particular highlighted portion of it? Okay, Jen.
Okay, great. We're gonna move on to the next one, which is on the same page. It's the first paragraph and or sentence, and it's compensation amount. Just wanted to bring a couple things to your attention that you may not be aware of. First is that our current board bylaw does reflect that the compensation amount for the Monroe County Board of Education, which is consistent with California Education Code 1090. The governor did recently update the amount for that. Currently, I believe the board is receiving $189 for participation as a board member. And with the update to the California Education Code, that amount will increase to $800. That is statewide.
$800 a month?
That is correct, yes. And that begins on January 1st of 26. Now, the bylaw itself allows the board to receive that compensation consistent with the Ed Code and consistent with the class. And so we are a class 5 county right now. It's by the amount of students that attend, and it is by average daily attendance. Right now, we're cusping on going up to class 4 We are about 800 students short of that. If that happens, then that count is taken on a yearly basis. That would increase the compensation monthly to $1,000 a month. And we would notify you of that change should it happen. Going down, we're at the lowest we can get. So if we lose, 1,000 students or 10,000 students, we will always be at that $800 a month because class 5, 6, 7, and 8 are at the $800 a month. The other thing you should note is that the bylaw itself does not require that any board member collect this compensation. They can choose not to, but it is available and discretionary, if you will, for those board members that wish to receive the compensation. So just more of an update to procedures there, and I'm available to answer any questions on that. And if there are no questions, we can go on to the next area.
So, are you, as part of the onboarding process or each year, are you gonna check in with each board member as to whether or not we want to receive the compensation? Or is it just a
We were
default?
not, yeah, it was gonna be default, and we do that with onboarding and ask them, and if they say no, it's no, and if they want to, they're gonna reach out. And then we'd expect them, if they change their approach, then they would let us know. Okay, so now we're gonna go to elections, which is on page 138. Actually, 140, it looks like I put the wrong page down, I apologize. 140. See green highlighted. It's a singular sentence, but it has a long story behind it, so I'll let you read the sentence so that we'll get into this.
Seven, that's something, softly.
Okay, so this is again in green discretionary. The ad hoc committee looked at this and is making the recommendation that the County Board of Education pay for the printing, handling, and development of the candidate statements whenever there is an election for a seat on the Marin County Board of Education. The rationale behind that is we don't want it to be limiting, because we want anyone to be interested in the position to be able to file for that and be able to run for election. We wouldn't want one candidate to be able to provide a candidate statement, which is at cost, and then translated into another language, which is at cost, and another candidate not be able to do that. So the recommendation to create as much access as possible would be for the Board of Education to cover those costs. Our office, if this bylaw passes, would alert the elections office whenever there is an election as to we will be covering X. I know the next question likely is how much is this? And it goes by word, and the max words I think is 400. And if the candidate does do 400 words, that would be $410 for English. If you go into another language, you just double that. So now you're at $820. And then they do charge you $100 for a translation fee. So the max cost per candidate would be $950. I think Jill had the first question.
I was a little confused when I read this because I thought it just pertained to current board members running. So this would be anybody, say there's an open position next year. If 12 people run for that seat, MCBE would pay for the candidate statement for all 12 of those people.
Yes, under this policy.
I don't agree with that. I don't see why the Board of Education should be paying for people to run for a seat. I don't see how that benefits students. I also was shocked at how expensive the candidate statements were when I ran for the first time last year. And as a result, I didn't prepare a statement. So I see the point about if, one person has a statement and one doesn't, that doesn't seem fair. And I don't think it seems fair that this county would pay for all of that. So I would disagree with adding this.
I think we'll just go this way because I think Patty had a question. Okay, well, you have two other questions, and let that other question come back.
Sometimes it doesn't find out.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting concept. Where did this come from?
It is a,
Community standard across the state, so those are the two.
yeah, so it is working off the CSBA model, it's an option. So the board could say, no, everyone's up to Joe's point, everyone's up on their own. Or the county board could say, no, we wanna make sure that everyone has an opportunity here regardless of finances. So it's an equal playing field, we're gonna cover the costs for that. So as an option, the ad hoc committee looked at that and leaned towards the access option. And I will just say from my experience, when I did run for the board in Old Adobe, they did cover everything, the candidate statement, the district did. So that board had adopted it.
And if we look at the total amount of candidates that have been on the ballot in the last 10 years.
We might have 12 total.
You never know.
No, absolutely,
Never know,
you're
never
right,
know.
you're right.
We could, I mean,
But you could argue too, that's a good problem to have, right, that we have that much interest that we wanna have as many qualified candidates.
definitely creates and yeah, but I still, it is a what if, but I guess it's a far stretch, but.
John, does it need to be, is there a way to do it where a person could be informed that they could ask if they need it? Or if they would like, what you call public assistance
You could
with
put a
this,
sliding
but
scale on it, I mean, you could put, you know, if they are 400% above the, or below the poverty, 400% of the poverty line, then we would pay for this.
Yeah.
You have to verify.
Yeah, I don't know if I defer to council, I don't even know if you can answer that, I don't know if that's something we can do with the elections office.
Yeah, I'd wanna look at it and to your point, we have to verify, so what mechanism are we using? We don't usually have access to.
They would have to voluntarily give you, you know, because I worked in these federally public health centers, and they give you the pay staff.
Right.
State, some,
PG.
you know, yes.
and I see people who can afford it, like, okay, so I would love it, but I can afford it. So I'd love to not have to pay it, but if I need to run and I wanna run that bad, if I really wanna be on the board, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna come up with money. So I feel like if someone asks, if they really want to run and that's hard for them, if there's a way we could have them put in a request that isn't gonna be awkward and embarrassing, that it doesn't have to be so, does it have to be so formal that it requires a pay stub, for example?
It could
But
be
I
a
think
verbal
most-
statement, I mean, it could be,
See,
just say the right.
I mean, just on request or something.
But you don't have to have a candidate statement. I ran, and I had no candidate statement, and the person who ran against me had no candidate statement, so
But
it's
you
not a
wanna be
requirement.
able to if you want to. Like, I thought it was very important.
It
I
can.
think
I think it's
really
important too, but
And
I don't think it's so important that this county office should pay for everybody
I
to
do.
do it.
I think it's that important if it's someone who really can't come up with money.
Mayor McCarthy,
Yeah, I
please.
thought I had a question, and then Marilyn got in and started talking to everybody.
Well, I think she was just building off of that last question, but the floor is yours, Mayor McCarthy, go ahead.
It seems odd. I agree with Joe. I don't think people have to have a candidate statement. I think if they want to run and if they have that much involvement in the community, they can go out and raise the money. If that needs to be done, they can get the signatures necessary, et cetera, to be able to join. And I don't know of any school district within the county that has this arrangement. Do you?
I haven't looked into it, the only experience I have is my personal experience, but it was in another county.
Well, I've had experience with a number of people that have been running for the school boards, 17 different school boards in Marin County, and I've never seen anything like this as being part of it, and I would have hoped that we would have had that kind of information to be available to us to be able to compare and see whether or not this is a routine practice in Marin County or not, because there's a lot of communities that are wealthy communities where people run for office and they're not all wealthy. So I wouldn't be in support of it.
Okay. Are you requesting more information about what districts do have this within their policy? Because we could, if that would help inform the decision of the board, we can get that information for the next meeting.
I'd like to know. Certainly, it might change my mind, but
Okay.
right now, I don't think that.
We haven't called the question yet.
Are there any other comments?
I'm just wondering if someone could opt to, thank you, voluntarily pay it themselves as opposed to have the school.
Yeah, I think you can do that. I think to Marilyn's point though, if someone says, hey, do you want us to pay for this or would you like to? I think the majority of the people would just say, oh, it's covered by the
Right,
board.
but this says the MCBE shall pay, so it's not voluntary.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think it's, if the person says no, then they shall pay. You know, I would have to look at the language there.
I like the optional approach and just keeping it kind of low key. Personally, I don't really care what other people do. If we have a choice, then we should make a decision based on what we think feels more right for us.
Mhm.
So, and it's true that we don't get that many people running, and yes, that could change, but
Yeah, and to your point, Nancy, we have 40 years of not doing it this way. I mean, I don't know how people feel about that, but I think you need to take a step back and look at, would it have been helpful if we pivot and do this? And I think that's ultimately the.
And I think the bigger question is, why does the county of Warren require such a large amount of money for candidate students? That to me seems like a bigger issue, and we will not solve today.
Yeah.
But that to me is the ultimate issue, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's our job to solve that problem, and I don't think we should spend money that would otherwise be directed to students on politicians running for positions.
that's a really good point.
So any other thoughts from board members?
For me, it goes back to kind of my more socialistic childhood, where I love to provide an equal playing field for anybody who has interest.
Mhm.
And to me, this actually limits a certain group of people in this country or in this county from putting their foot forward. And if I can equalize that playing field, I'm gonna support it. So
I feel
that's why I could support something like this. You know, I just don't feel like it's a ton of money to equalize the playing field for this board in any way that we possibly can. So. support.
Do you wanna take a vote
Or let's not take a vote, let's just get some other thoughts. Yeah. How about just maybe either Cindy or Lee, if you wanted to share how you feel.
We say something like. The MCO, Mountain County Board of Education can offer to pay instead of shall.
We can make that more clear.
Yeah. Mhm.
or just make?
It's available to pay.
But if it's available to pay, does that mean that somebody that makes $200,000 a year can just ask for it too? I mean,
Yeah.
if you talk about making it an even playing field, that means you gotta pay for the millionaire.
No, we
As well
would,
as paying
yeah.
for, the person that doesn't have any money. I mean, that just doesn't seem
Yeah,
safe.
but that, I mean,
It gives
that's,
them access, it gives them both equal access to run.
Mhm.
yeah.
Right, but I don't feel comfortable paying for somebody who's got a lot of money,
Well,
being able to come in and ask for money from MCOE to pay for candidates.
Yeah, and I don't see it as asking for money, it's just when they get the invoice, if you will, there wouldn't be an invoice. So they're just, that is comped because the MCA has covered it, because to Curtis's point, have creating the equal play. But
My,
Cindy, yes.
my question is about the cost. Was that all encompassing, or like the staff cost here at MCOE for facilitating this? Was that incorporated?
No, we actually wouldn't be involved in that at all, that's done outside of our office, and that is total cost per candidate.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I appreciate everybody's comments about and feedback about it and signaling that it's optional. I agree with. I do agree though, like one of our goals is to have more diversity on this board, and in the spirit of that, based on your past experience of not having 100,000 people run, that's the worry, that there's no cap. So we could all of a sudden be looking at a huge expense, but it seems like symbolically, it's opening ourselves, encouraging very much others to further hat in the ring to consider this. So I would support it.
I think for me, what was a surprise when I filed my candidate statement was not really paying at that time $300 for the English version. But when I had to have a Spanish version, it was a lot of money plus the translation fee. And I just wanted to throw it out there.
I'd like to ask, has there been any study or evaluation of whether or not doing this has resulted in any more diverse candidates running for office?
I have not looked into that, no.
Okay, well, I think that the ways that you try to get diverse candidates to run, you should go out and you try to seek people who are interested in running who are diverse candidates. I don't think that just throwing money at a situation, you can wind up people saying, okay, if this is a freebie, we're gonna just all run for this, because there are some offices where when people realize that there's no filing fee, they all run, and then you get 20 people running for an office. And so this may be the end result.
I just want to be clear, this is not about the family,
Yeah.
this is solely about the candidate statement.
Right, I don't see how. Again, I think when I decided to run, I had no idea that there was, an option to file a candidate statement. I didn't even know I was gonna run, and I see the paperwork. Oh, this high cost, I thought, I don't really think it's necessary because you're a member of your community, talking to other people in your community. There's so many ways to get out information about your candidacy. So I don't think that this candidate fee has discouraged people from running because it's not a filing fee. Right, the filing fee is very modest, right? $40, I think. So
Right, that is true. I didn't think about it from that perspective.
and when you look at the packet, a lot of people don't have candidate statements.
So
Right.
I just,
Well, I think the president had her hand up first, and we'll look at this.
I feel so strongly the same way Curtis does, that, I mean, if my cleaning lady wants to run for the school board, I want her to do it, she's a really great lady. And she would be wonderful on the school board, and I think as far as the candidate statement, I disagree with Jill. I think it's an extra thing. It's true, you still need to go out into the community, but there are a lot of people who go to the polls and they haven't read their material, and at the last minute, they read the candidate statement and they vote. And I know a lot of people who do that. I used to, right? And it's not a level playing field if they don't have the opportunity, and I don't see why. I believe most of us would say, no, that's fine, I'll pay for it. I think I would love to see us be able to offer without making it a shall. I don't see the point of a shall, but I see the point of some language that lets, and I just also want to say that both Jill and Lee just said that they didn't even know there would be a candidate statement until they got there. And so a lot of people don't even realize it, but then when they find out, they want to do it. And then it comes as a surprise how much money it is. And so maybe they decide not to, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't have helped you. And there are some elections, and Lee's a good example, that are within like so few votes that candidate statement can make all the difference. And I just have really strong feelings about that.
Dr. Robinson?
no, I was just gonna, I remember that I was just gonna make a comment. I don't know if this is true, but when maybe I've had to be on the ballot twice. And the second time I was on the ballot, no, it was one of these things where I was alone. I was the only one that submitted my statement of interest, my candidacy. And then I watched every day and then nobody put it in. So I went to Canada hoping that like nobody put it in at the last minute and then somebody put it in. So I was running against somebody who had a candidate statement and I didn't. And I interviewed with the IJ because they were looking for endorsements, and Brad Breathwood, this editorial guy,
Right.
when he interviewed with me, he said, "You don't have a candidate statement." And I said, "No, I don't." He said, "No one's ever won without a candidate statement in this county." And I said, "I'll bet you I'll win. I'll give you a penny." The penny, I'm gonna win. And he's like, "You got to bet." And I just, and I got the penny. I went back up there and got it. Confident he was when he said that statement.
Interesting.
So while it may be true that sometimes if you get nobody has a candidate statement, you know, it's an equal playing field, but when one has it, I do think there's a huge benefit. Which just kind of goes against what you're thinking maybe.
Except you won without a candidate statement.
Yeah, you were.
I'm like, you know, I mean, it was-
Some writers.
you know, it might not have been the candidate statements, but that's. So it was just an interesting.
Yes,
I don't think I would have won if I did not have a candidate statement. I was a complete unknown. I didn't know anything about public education. I had private education. My daughter went to private school. So I think that my candidate statement really helped. But I will say that I was surprised that I had to raise the money to do it. But I also felt like, you know, if I'm doing something, I'm financially responsible for something.
That's another thing. I think that if you really are interested in doing something, you're capable of raising the money to pay for it. And if you do that, you're making an effort to do it. You're going into the community, you're asking people for support. And if you're somebody who's done some community work, which one would hope a person who's running for office would be, that you've got people that will support you. And if you don't have anybody that's supporting you or endorsing you, then, you know, that's another issue in and of itself. But I think that, you know, you've got to try. And if you think that a candidate statement is important, you know, you should raise the money. There are a lot of people that raise money for the filing fees themselves by going out and collecting, 100 signatures. And they don't necessarily even, you know, need the money. But I think it's a demonstration of a commitment to the process that you don't see when somebody just says, hey, I'll give you this money. I'll give you that money. Go out and do that. I just don't think it's the right message to send.
yes.
I would have to say that because I work for a bank and I had clients offering money for my candidacy, I had to refuse everything. So I raised the money for my candidacy. Oh, Marilyn gave me some money, but I raised all on my own. I had to refuse a lot of money.
All right, so next steps on this, we can look at, well, option one is we can strike it completely, but it sounds like there's enough interest here that we might want to look at it differently. And we can look at that language about availability versus shall. We can talk to the elections office to see what kind of flexibility or accountability we can have for income of the interested candidates. I can't make any promises, but we can look at that. And then I can also, to Member McCarthy's request, see, I can check some board policies in the districts and see what the flavor is in our county, what other districts are doing that, and I can bring that back to you in January. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you for that discussion. We're going to move on to our last one, and this is self-evaluation. This is new. This was again not before you in the November meeting. It is one page in totality. For those of you that haven't had a chance to read it or haven't read it recently, I'm going to give you a second to do that. Now, I don't know, we're on page 159. I'm not sure what page you're on digitally. Yes. Yeah, I don't do it.
It's 166.
Thank you. Question already?
I just want to make a statement. I was really happy to see this added. I came back from the California County Board Conference in September, and this is a best practice that everyone I talked to has in place. And I was surprised we did not. And they were all surprised that we did not either. So.
Yes, Member McCarthy.
Is this actually a California Board of Education policy? Or can you just?
It's a best practice of other county boards, all do this annually. All of the boards I talked to, and so that's when I came back and said, when do we do our self-evaluation? It's a common practice.
So I think member
Did you get any
Johnson,
there, did you get any of the policies there?
No, I did not, but I'm assuming this came, where did this come from?
this actually came from Jill's ideas and sentence starters, if you will, and then CSBA language, model language.
So this is a CSBA model language policy for self-evaluation.
Some of it is, and some of it is what Jill had recommended
Do
as
you,
ideas.
do you have the CSBA recommended language as well to review?
I don't have it in front of me, but there's nothing that wasn't included, only additional things are here.
What were the additional things? Do you know, Jill?
I don't know, but I've seen the CSBA policy and, I mean, it's not like there's any sort of specific language that is necessary, it's more the process.
Yeah.
And each board can decide how they want to do it, whether they want it to be facilitated, which I highly recommend, or doing it on their own. So it really, CSBA has model language, but it's really kind of a, you know, however the board wants to do it. It's how you do the evaluation, it's not how you identify the board policy.
But are the points that are being evaluated, are those all CSBA and how they lay out? In other words, not just whether you use a facilitator or whether you do it in an open meeting or a closed meeting, but are the items that are being evaluated like the ones in the CSBA model that you have there?
I haven't looked at the language recently, so I don't know, but it's a self-evaluation, so you can evaluate on, I mean, there's not that many things you would evaluate on, right? Governance, how people treat each other, it's really the process, it's the fact that we have a policy that says we should do this every year that's important, not even the specific language. It can be whatever the board decides it to be. And a facilitator helps prepare that as well by usually talking to board members before the evaluation to talk about things that they're concerned about.
And the Association for California County Boards of Education has sample evaluations that others have used, as does CSBA. Yeah.
And this is something we did at Shoreline. We did self-evaluation every year. Yeah. I was really surprised that this board didn't do that. Yeah. I go, why, but this board never did that?
No,
We never did.
no, and no bylaw governing that. And so no bylaw was introduced. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to comment, if I may, I think the facilitator is absolutely necessary.
Yes.
I think I like this, the board self-evaluation, but I also think that we should also be, as board members, we should also be doing our own evaluation as being a board member. Just like when I do my performance review at the office, I have to write, there are certain items and I have to comment on that, and my manager reviews it, and my manager actually reviews them. I'd like something like that.
I mean, to me, it's more that the policy stands and then maybe we have a committee that sits here and talks about how the evaluation process is gonna go next year. We can set up our own evaluation process, these types of ideas.
Yeah, and there's language in there that says this is evaluation of the board as a whole, but each individual member is encouraged to evaluate themselves.
Well, there's certainly no downside.
Yeah.
They say in the CSBA's model bylaw, they talk about support student achievement. Is that in there?
But we don't talk about student achievement, it's just, I mean, you could get there through improving governance practices and strengthening them, which ultimately would support student achievement.
It says the focus is the evaluation should focus on the board as a whole and its collective performance, not individual members, methodology.
Performance, self-reflection, things we can change in many ways.
That's in there, it's in paragraph 3.
Individual board members complete the evaluation form typically online without access to each other's responses. Indicates.
No, it's the concept that we're really looking at right now, not the exact form.
Correct, yeah, I think to Curtis's point, you could
Yeah.
create an ad hoc committee that could put some meat on these bones. And then I think ultimately decide annually when this would take place and then prepare.
And we don't need to decide any of that in order to,
No, I think what you're deciding by saying, by agreeing to this is that you would engage in an annual self-evaluation process.
They also talk about a gamut policy service, CSBA's gamut policy service. And they talk about San Jacinto High School District's document as being a moderative.
Yeah, and I think you might be on the district policy, so we work off the County Board of Education policy, which is different than districts, because as you know, this board is
I
different.
see.
Yeah. Okay, so are we
So that's,
comfortable?
so are the districts, the 17 districts have this policy?
I didn't look, I would assume, that they are engaging in some stuff.
I know several of the board members at the district level that I've met with have said they do it. I haven't met with somebody from all 17, but probably about 7 or 8, and they all do this.
It is pretty standard. Is everybody comfortable moving forward with that? Great. All right, so then that takes us into next steps, which would be our next meeting. I know it's January, but it's right around the corner. And not that I'm keeping track, but I think it's like 12 business days or whatever, because of what we do. Yeah. Yeah, so just, it'll be here before you know it. What will be on that agenda will be as an action item, the first reading of the bylaws, which you had a really good chance to get into. We'll bring this additional information relating to the government board elections there. I want you to know that we'll be recommending waiving the second reading so that we can get these bylaws in place, because at the conclusion of that meeting, we'll be going to our organizational meeting. As you know, those bylaws do govern that process. So
Did we at the last meeting, did we approve the bylaws that we reviewed before?
we haven't approved anything.
Okay, because I had a few suggested edits, so I'll
Okay.
do them again.
Did you
Is this a good time to talk about them or just email them to you?
email them to me and we can talk offline about that? And if it's anything substantial, I'll bring it to the group in January.
Okay, thank you.
Why wouldn't we be able to see those or potentially?
You can see them. I just is saying that we wouldn't want to involve the whole board here because we wouldn't have time to.
Right, but what I'd like to do is if Jill has edits, I could see what they are. Is that gonna be some like violation if we are able to see what her suggestions are?
Looking at council shaking their head in the yes, it looks like that will be around their violation. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, so we can certainly show the edits in the packet that goes to the board, but we could not circulate them ahead of time to the full board.
You know, those edits done, Jill?
Generally, I could go through them really quickly.
Why don't we give her an opportunity?
We have
to
8 minutes.
I defer to the president on that.
it seems like it works really well to do it separately and then maybe you would highlight any changes from what we had seen. And that would include any edits that anyone had suggested.
Yeah, and I can also just, I don't know how many edits you have, but if it's just a handful, I can take the time to highlight those edits and have the discussion then with the board.
It's fine.
Because we're not gonna have time to do that today, nor are we prepared to do that. And I'd want you to have time to look at the edits as well.
Okay.
So see the edits.
In the packet, yeah, you have them at least 72 hours. Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
John, you mentioned about the organizational meeting coming up, so I just wanted to remind everybody, that, does everybody have a copy of this in their packet, John? About the,
Yes, it's in the front page of the
Okay.
packet.
so, is it okay to do this now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We have 7 minutes.
Do you have committees and other groups that members are part of? So and we can have more than one also. There's no reason it has to be limited. So if you're, and I did hear from Jill already about JLab and some of you I've already talked to Cindy. But
I apologize, President Inzer, and I apologize to the deputy for
Oh.
contradicting a bit. I think it's one thing if you want to give a report, but I wouldn't
Okay.
want to start engaging in discussion
Okay.
about committee membership because we didn't put that in.
can I just remind people to let me know if they're interested?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I just wanted to highlight what that document was. That's just an updated sheet for the committees, and it does indicate now what is via Zoom, because you asked for that update at our November meeting. So just want that resources available to you. Thank you, Council.
Are these going to be public sessions, these committee meetings?
Yes, they're all public. Mhm.
I think we have a hand raised in the audience.
Can I make a public comment?
We've already closed public comment for this meeting, but we're having a meeting in about 6 minutes where you can make public comment. Will that work for you? Well, you can, and the other thing too, for this public comment, it's only public comment on the special agenda. Special meeting agenda, which is the board bylaws. Was your comment for board bylaws?
Yes.
It was. Okay, well, let me defer to the president to see in the last 5 minutes, do you want to open up public comment?
Yes, so if you want to take 2 minutes, if
It's less than that.
on this, yeah, because we want to have a few minutes in between our meetings for.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much. I'm Carson Anderson, a director of the Coalition of Sensible Taxpayers in Marin. On behalf of our board, I'm alerting you to the clear illegality of one of the proposed provisions of the draft bylaws you're considering today. In the proposed draft bylaws, Board Bylaw 9323, entitled Public Participation and Board Member Decorum, page 42, reads as follows. MCBE members shall not attempt to address matters which are not on the agenda by speaking during public comments on non-agenda items. The First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects 5 core freedoms: religion, speech, the press, the right to peaceful assembly, and the right to petition the government, ensuring citizens can express beliefs, voice dissent, practice faith, gather, and seek redress without government interference. It should be clear to everyone that the board members of a local government agency cannot be made to forfeit their First Amendment rights as citizens simply by serving on the board of that agency. Consequently, the bylaws of MCBOE cannot force members to agree to any such restriction, nor can it use compulsory language such as board members shall not attempt to address non-agenda items by speaking during public comment. This is a flagrant, unlawful restriction on both the rights of free speech and the right to petition the government. This section should immediately be removed from the draft bylaws. MCBOE should know better than try to sneak in such an illegal and unconstitutional provision. Thanks for letting me take the question.
Thank you very much.
There's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you in a few minutes.